Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you like babysitting horror stories, then you're going to love this. They're all true stories from my childhood, and it's not just one story. It's like I have an entire compilation, and it just makes you wonder how people exist in this world. My mom was always trying to find a babysitter, and sometimes that was really hard. Like I can't remember all the methods that she did it, but you know, sometimes we get like creepy men calling my mom, you know, like, I can be your babysitter. And they wouldn't even speak English, and it was just, my mom's thinking, no, like, we're gonna get a woman. But just because you're a woman does not mean that you're a great babysitter. So it was really hard because first off, we didn't always have the finances to pay for a babysitter. Now, that doesn't mean like, it kind of just makes you think like you get what you pay for, but at the same time, like if you physically, this was physically all that we could afford when it came to it. So my dad would be given visitation rights, and he would have a schedule that they gave him, but my dad would always try to change it up. And my dad was, of course, trying to get back at my mom, but didn't really care how this was affecting us kids. So it would be, you know, 48 hours before he would have to see us for that week. And then he would tell my mom, well, I'm busy, I'm gonna be out of town. How about next week? And it wasn't really him asking, it was him just demanding, like that's how it was going to go down. And it was so hard because if mom was then going to fight his decision, that meant paying a lawyer and having another court date. You can't just change the date like 48 hours, 24-hour notice, and then have my mom be able to tell her work, hey, I need to change up my schedule. It doesn't work that way, that's not the real world. My brother and my dad didn't always get along, so sometimes though, when we were over at Dad's house, Dad would get so mad and he would take Tyler and drop him off at this house when nobody was here. You know, not a care in the world about where his next meal is gonna come from. And it was so uncomfortable for me because I didn't know what to do in those situations. It might confuse some of you guys, like, well, you know, you have an older brother, why do you need a babysitter? Well, first off, we didn't have a car, like a second car to use to get to school. And my brother, who would have been old enough to drive at one point during these stories, it didn't matter because he had epilepsy. So my mom didn't want him driving, and I don't think legally he could, like 6 months after a seizure anyway. And then also mom didn't want him having a seizure here at home and having it just be me. She wanted somebody else to be there to help. So that's just how the situation went. I mean, it wasn't super fun for my brother because sometimes the babysitters were younger and closer to his age, but that's life, and my brother was a trooper. Even though I wouldn't say it was a really high paying job, it was a very easy job. So all they needed to do was pick us up from school, take us here, hang out here, like the babysitter could watch TV, read a book, you know, completely ignore us really because we're supposed to be doing our homework. But if the babysitter could also then help out with dinner, and then that's it. Like super easy. A lot of times my mom tried to be back every evening, so the babysitters often did not have to spend the night. That only happened every once in a while because sometimes the overnights were really well-paying trips that my mom needed to take. I've had babysitters of all ages, and yes, I've had that typical teen babysitter. Oftentimes it was really fun because I just idolized them. Like I thought they were so cool. But I remember we had one who was a senior at our high school, and she would forget to pick us up. I personally, so far, have never forgotten to pick anybody up, but I guess I can see it happening once, but then when it happened twice or 3 times, it was just all too awkward. And it was the easiest job for her because we lived so close to the school, and it was literally just her walking to the next building on campus and collecting us and bringing us home. It was just crazy. Like that girl needed to use a planner. But they got way worse. Then we decided to use my best friend's older sister. I say best friend because this is the girl that I made a video about who is a pathological liar. But this is not about the patho girl. So as I tell the story, don't even think about that pathological lying friend. We're talking about her older sister as a babysitter. So yes, that best friend was pretty bratty and rude to her parents, but I could have sworn the older sister would probably win in a competition of who can be the meanest to their parents. It got so bad, like when she was attending the high school softball games, that a lot of parents had to distance themselves from that family because she made them so uncomfortable with how she talked. I can have a lot of patience, but I don't have patience for people who are rude to their family at all. I hate that. She wasn't just rude to her parents. I wouldn't say that she was directly rude to me where she was, you know, attacking me, but there was one time that I clearly remember when her parents were taking us out to dinner, and we were on a separate table, and it was my best friend and her older sister, and her older sister started complaining about kids on financial aid, knowing that I was a kid on financial aid. And she flat out asked me if she thought it was fair for her family to pay my tuition. That's not even how it works. People, like, the school has fundraisers for their financial aid. Anyone's tuition is really just going towards the operation of the school. And you can look that up. They're very open about that. But can you believe somebody would say that to me? And I knew it was on purpose. I don't think she did anything as rude as that to me. Like, she wasn't ever like, oh, Lesley, you're dressed real ugly today. She wasn't like that. But I would trade all of that for the discomfort I felt at that dinner table with that. That was just so crazy rude. Then one day she had to babysit and she didn't even show up. And when my mom finally got a hold of her, I think the next day when it didn't even matter, she said to my mom, oh, we decided to stay an extra day on vacation. That was it. It was really awkward. No acknowledgement that she missed her babysitting shift, no apologies, and my mom was just so done with her, obviously so unreliable. Honestly, I think she was too immature to babysit, because I remember one time she was frustrated because I asked for mac and cheese, she made me one, and then I wasn't that hungry, so I didn't really eat it. But I'm thinking, it's like, your job is to still make me the mac and cheese. It's not my fault that I didn't want to eat it. Like, it just should not have made her mad, but she was obviously immature that it made her mad. It's like when people give somebody money as a present and then get mad with how they spend it because it's a gift of money. I hope I'm making sense to you guys. To me, it's making sense. She's immature. And then we have the Republican, which is probably really is isolating some of my viewers. Sorry, but that's just how I remember she had a bed to sleep in, but she would always decide to sleep on the couch and wouldn't put any sheets down. So she would just be sleeping and sweating on our bare couch. Like, and she was oddly quiet. Then she started getting passive aggressive. She was really angry about her job. But my mom was very clear with what the job was. I'm trying to forget if we found a better babysitter or if she did something that my mom did not agree with. Not like political wise, but she did something that my mom just felt like she's not meant to babysit my children. And my mom was really nice telling her, and I don't even think she really gave her the full reasoning why, but then she got really mad, and then she started, you know, spewing all of this venom in this email where she talked about how my brother was creepy and that he was on steroids, which doesn't make any sense because my brother got really creeped out by steroids. He was just a bodybuilder. If you work out every day and you eat 5 protein meals a day, you're going to see results. You're going to have a big build. It just didn't make any sense. And it's not like she like babysat on him on day 1 of his workout journey and could see this ridiculous progress. Like, he was already working out when she met him. So she was making these assumptions, and she called him creepy, which I'm just thinking, he's a teenage boy, like, and he's not even creeping on you. Then in the email, she talked about how we were helpless, spoiled brats because we couldn't make our own meals, which I'm thinking, that's why my mom is paying you to make dinner, because we have homework. You know, we're getting a good education and we're good about doing our homework, but it takes us hours to do. And this is like the weird thing is, I guess because we had an Obama sticker that really personally offended her. Like, who's the snowflake now? Because then on her last email, she made her own signature down at the bottom. Like, it wasn't like a pre-made signature she always had. Like, it just showed up on the very last email, and it said that she was a proud to be Republican. My mom felt so bad that she was so passive aggressive that she was watching us. My mom was like, get her out of here. But of course she did not go away easily because she's crazy, and she was writing hot checks and using our phone number and address. And that was hard because that's just a lot of work we didn't want to deal with, but we kept getting these threats in the mail about how we need to pay something off, pay someone. Thank goodness it wasn't hot checks to some drug dealer or else that could have gone way crazier and way worse. Then we had Janina, the Romanian. I don't have anything bad to say about her. I loved her. She was the best babysitter we ever had, and we're still friends to this day. Like, I see her on Facebook. She has a family now, and every once in a while we'll, show her support by liking each other's posts. But she was really cool. I definitely exhausted her, by having her play all of these wild games. And I remember one time, this was her first time babysitting, and I had made like a fort in the hallway that Tyler had to destroy. And so he, of course, destroyed it in a few seconds because I made it out of just stupid pillows. Well, my brother was always obsessed with things, so it was his turn to build a fort. And he started bringing all of these things out from other rooms, like including the garage. And I remember Janina just like wide-eyed being like, do we need to bring this out? And Tyler brought, like 2 workout benches, I think dumbbells, which I'm thinking I don't get the point of that unless you fall through the pillows and smack your head on the dumbbell. There was a mattress from the garage, all of this ridiculous stuff. And I'm playing The Sims while my brother is spending hours on the sport. And the phone rings and I answer it, and it's Mom telling me she's on her way. So I'm like, oh, that's great, it's great. I end the phone call, and I guess just so out of sight, out of mind, I forget to warn Tyler that my mom's on her way, and I go back to playing The Sims. Like, I just don't think anything of it. Then Mom comes through the front door, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, Mom's on her way. And my babysitter, Janina, like, my mom looked at her, like the color had drained from her face. She was wide-eyed and pale, looking at my mom, terrified, because my brother had trashed the house. And this was her first day. But my mom was like, pick this up, Tyler, and she was fine with it. My mom was just happy to have a nice babysitter, so that worked out. But she did want more hours, and my mom couldn't give her more hours. And I think she wanted to babysit really little kids because she eventually wanted to start a family of her own. So she ended up doing that. But I remember crying when she did leave. Then we had the Lawbreaker. So we had this babysitter who ended up being super reliable. She was always on time. She really presented herself very professional. Not only would she cook, but she would also take some time to vacuum the house. So we were so happy to have her. By then, I think she did 1 or 2 overnights, so she had a key to her house. Then we were thrown a curveball because one day she's set to work later on that evening, and she calls my mom and says, hey, I'm in jail. And my mom's immediate response was, are you gonna get out in time to watch my kids? And as soon as my mom said it, it hit her like, what have I come to? But it's, again, like, if any of you guys say one mean thing about my mom, I'm blocking you. I don't care. Because, honestly, like, I'm just, if you guys had lived the life that I lived, and being a kid, you don't see everything that's going on in your parents' lives. My mom was so beat down, so exhausted, trying to make being a single mom work. I admire her every day. But again, like, gotta tell you, like, the babysitter was in jail because of some like parking tickets that she hadn't paid, and they were racking up. So then there ended up being a warrant out for her arrest. So she did get out. So it wasn't drugs, nothing violent, nothing like that. But then we noticed later that some of my mom's R-bond was missing, and one of my 14-karat gold earrings with diamonds in them went missing. And of course, who else was in the house but her, because she had a house key. So apparently what she did was she dropped us off at school, and then the neighbors saw her and she told them like, oh, I'm just house sitting. Then went inside and just raided my mom's stuff. When my mom called her, she came back with it, but not all of it, because I didn't get my earrings back, and my mom felt like a few makeup products were missing. But she had tears in her eyes and said she was with a friend and her friend stole it, but that makes no sense. Like, why do you have a friend over at her house? You shouldn't have even been at her house. I'm just super confused. I think she was just trying to save her job, because the job at least was stable. Stealing makeup and selling it on the streets is not as stable. On a funnier note of babysitting gone wrong is that we had an old lady, and this old lady was so annoying. Like, I remember one time I asked if I could go outside and play because I didn't have any homework, and she kept me inside because she was trying to listen to a voicemail, and she's like, don't go yet, like, I'm trying to listen to this voicemail. And she played it about 20 times, and I'm thinking, listen, lady, you're so old, you just can't hear the voicemail. You might as well call this person back. She'd be making dinner, and then she'd get nervous, and she'd want me in the same room as her. And I'm thinking, I'm trying to play my Sims game, and that's in the living room, and you're making me get up from it to watch you make me my dinner. Like, crazy. There's a good chance that there's more babysitters that I'm forgetting about, but like I said, the good babysitters, they did exist. They're just not good enough for this video. I love a good babysitter horror story, so if you have your own, then please leave it in the comments because I want to read it, and I bet other people do. I haven't had too many disasters happen while I was babysitting. I know my mom has. She grew up in Pennsylvania. When she was a teen babysitter, she watched this girl who was a total brat, and she, you know, managed to make my mom think somebody was at the front door. So when my mom stepped out of the house, she closed the front door and locked it and just left her there, and it was wintertime. She thought it was so funny. So my mom always hated being a babysitter. To me, I think it depends on the family and the kids, but I don't have really too many horror stories on the end of me being a babysitter, which is good. Like, I don't want it to be that way around. Like, I paid my dues with all these crazy babysitters. But okay, I hope you guys enjoyed it, the little story time and a better insight on my life and my childhood. Subscribe if you want to join the fam bam, and I'm gonna go. So, okay, love you, mean it. Bye, guys.